Court holds Kano State Electoral Commission from conducting local council elections just 4 days before polls. Supreme Court reserves judgment on suit challenging EFCC's constitutionality. Demolition of unauthorized buildings begins in Abuja amid ongoing land dispute. Away from Nigeria, Tunisian President Kais Saied sworn in for second term. It's the news update on Trust TV. Hello and welcome. I am Aisha Salihu. Thank you so much for joining us. The news in detail. We begin with judicial matters. Justice Simon Amobeda of the Federal High Court has restrained the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission from conducting the local government council's election scheduled to hold on Saturday. The judge held that the appointment of chairman and members of the commission, being card-carrying members of NNPP, was in contravention of sections 197 subsection 1 and 200 subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, and section 4B of Kano State Independent Electoral Commission Law 2001. The court held that KANSEC, as presently constituted, cannot conduct local government council's election. The court directs INEC not to release election materials to KANSEC until properly constituted. Also, the Supreme Court has reserved judgment in the suit filed by 16 states challenging the constitutionality of the laws establishing the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and 2 others to a date to be communicated to parties in the suit. At the resumed hearing on Tuesday, Imo, Bauchi and Osun states joined the suit as co-plaintiffs, while Anambra, Ebonyi and Adamawa states announced their decisions to withdraw their suits. The trial suits were struck out accordingly by the court. The Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, who was present in court as the defendant, had craved the court's indulgence to take the process they filed on Tuesday morning. Justice Uwani Abba Aji thereby granted leave to the defendant to use the reply and point of law filed on Tuesday. As part of efforts to fast-track justice delivery in Lagos State, a bill to significantly reduce litigation time at the Magistrate and High Courts has been sent to the State House of Assembly for approval. The Attorney General of Lagos and Commissioner for Justice, Lawal Pedro, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, said when passed, the bill will ensure that civil cases last not more than 2 years in courts and tenancy matters no more than 6 months. Pedro, who disclosed this in Ikeja on Tuesday, said the State Ministry of Justice has introduced, including the establishment of the state's criminal information system, to capture photographs and biometrics and identify the cases of all inmates in the correctional centers in Lagos State. He also said the state has established the LIS pendant registry on land matters to serve as a repository of information of land disputes in the courts, reduce incidents of third-party interest, as well as enhance confidence in real estate investment within the state. The AG says all of the innovations will ultimately aid economic growth and protect investors. The Federal Capital Territory Administration has issued a warning to roadside beggars to desist from the act or risk being arrested by enforcement agents. The minister disclosed this at Katampe during the flag-off ceremony of the construction of the access road to the newly flagged-off judges' quarters. He lamented that the number of persons who stay on the road is alarming, adding that it poses a threat to security in the metropolis. He then issued an October 27, 2024 ultimatum to the concerned parties to vacate the streets. The Nigerian Armed Forces has said it is more than committed to taking the fight against banditry to the terrorists in their enclaves, to free Zamfara and other contiguous states from the incessant attacks as it warned them to surrender or die. Theatre commander of the newly established Operation Fansar Yamma, Major General Oluyinka Shoyele, made this position known during a visit to Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State at the Government House in Gusau, the state capital. According to him, the only option the terrorists have is to surrender. Zamfara State in northwest Nigeria has been the epicenter of banditry, and its people continue to face deadly attacks, abductions and killings for over a decade. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, has set up a forensic investigative committee to address the incessant grid collapses. According to his statement, the minister worried at the disturbance on the national grid, which threw some sections of the country into darkness twice within the past week, summoned the leadership of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission and the Transmission Company of Nigeria to an emergency meeting at the weekend. The minister, in a statement signed by his media aide, Bolaji Tunji, expressed displeasure at the incident, which he said was capable of rubbishing the giant strides made in the last 1 year, which have led to an increased generation and distribution of 5,000 to 527 megawatts, a record generation in 3 years. Adelabo also constituted a forensic investigation committee with a mandate to advise the government on the necessary solutions to make the national grid robust and reliable, in addition to the ongoing efforts of the government, like the Presidential Power Initiatives and the Nigeria Electricity Transmission Project. The statement also mandated the committee to establish the root cause of both incidents, especially a review of potential sabotage on the system. It said the committee will holistically review the national grid stability and identify investments and technical capacities required to make the grid smart and resilient. The Chief Judge of Kano State, Justice DJ Abdul Aboki, on Monday ordered the release of 37 inmates from the Gorondutse Medium Security Custodial Center as part of ongoing efforts to decongest the state's correctional facilities. The decision to release the inmates was driven by two main factors: their deteriorating health conditions and their prolonged detention without trial. Many of the freed inmates were reported to be suffering from severe health issues that worsened during their time in custody. Justice Abdul Aboki emphasized that the lack of adequate medical care in the facility further compromised their well-being. In addition, some of the inmates had been held for an extended period without facing trial, raising concerns about violations of their rights. In a bid to enforce the Abuja Master Plan, the Federal Capital Territory Development Control has demolished unauthorized structures in Lugbe. Unconfirmed reports suggest the demolition stems from a land dispute, with further claims indicating up to 200 acres of land may face demolition. In Lagos State, in a bid to tackle the recurring flooding challenges in the state, the government has embarked on a demolition exercise to remove illegal structures obstructing drainage channels and canals. The latest operation took place in Arowojobe Estate, Mende Villa, Maryland, where several structures on drainage are being demolished to clear the water path. The demolition exercise was carried out by the Drainage Enforcement and Compliance Team of the Lagos State Ministry of Environment and Water Resources in collaboration with security agencies. The operation is part of a broader initiative to proactively address the flooding challenges in Lagos. The flooding challenges in Lagos State have been exacerbated by illegal structures and encroachments on the drainage channels. The government's efforts to address this issue have been ongoing, with several enforcement operations carried out in recent months to remove obstructions blocking drainage channels across the state.
This demolition, so demolition is going on. On this alignment, we started as truly peace estate. So we've done with that part of demolition. So this Mende Villaro job here. So demolition is going on presently. And Commissioner of Lagos Minister of Environment and Water Resources have visited the site, and it can no longer wait for the demolition to be completed, because on this alignment here, I think on those both sides, the road construction is still coming in. So without all this demolition is being done.
Following the discharge of water from the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon, floods have engulfed no less than 25 towns along the banks of the River Niger in Edo State. The affected communities are in the Esako East, Esako Central and Esan South East local government areas of the state. The desk officer of the Esan South East local government on relief materials and distribution, Christopher Ojima, confirmed the flood development on Monday. Ojima, who is also the local government secretary of the emergency committee, said the internally displaced camp in the local government had already been filled by displaced persons. He said there were some communities, especially Ifeku, that had been completely submerged and their property and livestock swept away. He called on the federal and state governments to come to their aid, noting that the local government had been shouldering the responsibility alone. The executive director of the Niger State Motor Vehicle Administration Agency, Bako Mohammed, has declared that the recent Federal High Court ruling prohibiting the Vehicle Inspection Office from stopping vehicles on the road does not apply to the state. The statement was made during a press conference in Minna, ahead of the National Conference on Standardization and Harmonization of Vehicle Testing and Licensing. According to Bako, the state governor is constitutionally empowered to formulate laws guiding vehicular movement within the territory. This stance, he argued, suggests that Niger State will continue to operate its VIO as usual. Despite the court's ruling, the Federal High Court in Abuja had ruled that the VIO lacks legal authority to stop vehicles, confiscate them, or impose fines on motorists. Justice Nkeonye Evelyn Maha delivered the judgment, stating that no law empowers the VIO to carry out such actions. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has emphasized the need to strengthen the legislature, describing it as an investment in the stability and progress of Nigeria's democracy. He made these remarks during the presentation of the Parliamentary Development Program to the diplomatic corps, development partners and donor agencies in Abuja. The report.
The Speaker highlighted the high turnover in the legislature as a significant challenge, with 281 new members elected out of the 360 in the 10th Assembly. This, he said, disrupts continuity and erodes institutional memory, both vital for effective governance. He called for continuous capacity building to equip new legislatures with the skills needed to contribute from day one. He stressed that a strong legislature is central to driving reforms and ensuring good governance, noting that many critical reforms in Nigeria depend on the legislature's lawmaking and oversight roles.
Continuous capacity building is crucial to mitigate this challenge, ensuring new legislators have the skills and knowledge needed to contribute effectively from day one. By investing in the institutional strengthening of the National Assembly, we are laying the foundation for a resilient legislature that can better contribute to the overall governance of the country.
UNDP Resident Representative Elsie Atafwa called for stronger partnerships to advance the Parliamentary Development Program, urging donors, development partners, and civil society to support the initiative. She emphasized the need to build a more inclusive and responsive House of Representatives that serves Nigerians and strengthens trust in the democratic system. Atafua highlighted that expanding capacity building efforts and scaling interventions require collaboration and resource mobilization from all partners.
I urge you all, particularly again our donors, development partners, civil society, to support the Parliamentary Development Program. Together we can build a stronger, more inclusive and responsive House of Representatives that not only serves the people of Nigeria, but also strengthens their trust in our democratic system. We can only deepen the scope of capacity building initiatives and reach of its governance strengthening efforts, broaden our scale of interventions and move with speed, if only we aggregate the potential of all partners, including for resource mobilization for the implementation of this program.
The UNDP resident representative assured that the agency and the United Nations will continue supporting the program to ensure Nigeria's legislative institutions remain inclusive and capable of addressing future needs.
You're watching the news update coming to you live from Trust TV studios in the nation's capital. Still in the news. Families of detained hunger protesters seek support for their release. More news on return. Stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Let's have another look at some of our top stories. We told you that court holds Kano State Electoral Commission from conducting local council elections just 4 days before polls. You also heard Supreme Court reserves judgment on suit challenging EFCC's constitutionality. Moving on to other stories. A Makurdi-based legal practitioner has condemned the lynching and sometimes excommunication of old people over alleged witchcraft and voodoo practice. Speaking with Trust TV in Benue State, the legal practitioner and human rights activist Polycarp Ande condemned the act, saying the law has no place for jungle justice. Jimmy Azande reports.
The legal practitioner says it is sad how this is becoming prominent, especially in the rural settings where most of the old men and women who are often victims live.
Quite unfortunate that in very many times villagers, particularly the elderly ones, have been lynched as a result of getting themselves involved in witchcraft. But you know, legally speaking, the law has no place for voodoo, has no place in law. Witchcraft has no place in law because the law feels that it is very difficult and very cumbersome for you to be able to prove voodoo or to be able to prove witchcraft in court. So these victims of this lynching or these attacks are very unfortunate people. But legally speaking, like I said, voodoo or witchcraft has no place in law. So if we do those kind of issues, people who perpetrate these acts are criminal.
Some of the victims say it is mere hatred and wickedness, orchestrated on the aged by youths who feel they have answers to spiritual problems. It is wrong what the youths are doing to the aged people. How can you harass anyone for killing a human being? It is not even possible. I lost a son, and how he died I don't know. I'm saying no to this harassment. The accuser youths of thinking that some of them have overlived and as such should go and meet their ancestors. According to the law of creation, one must die. Harassing elders is not a good practice. The youth should stop this bad habit. We must go on as a people. The lawyer called on youths who harass aged Nigerians to respect their fundamental human rights.
So they're entitled to their life, they're entitled to live their life the same way others. And the persons who do these things have no right under the law because it is only the court of law, a competent court of law, that can adjudge somebody to be a criminal. So they can't even, this was simply what they do is self-help. So if you look at chapter 4, the provisions, the fundamental rights are clearly provided in chapter 4 of the Constitution. And it is clearly in violation of that fundamental rights.
It is hope that the Violence Against Persons Prohibition (VAP) law will come to the rescue of the elderly in Benue villages. Jimmy Azandi, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
Relatives of persons arrested during the hunger protests in Kano State have approached the Public Complaints Commission, pleading for help to secure the release of their loved ones. Many families claim that detainees are innocent, while some are underage. Trust TV's Abdulaziz Ibrahim reports.
It's a day filled with tears and desperation at the Federal Secretariat in Kano, as families of those arrested during the August hunger protests are here to submit their petitions to the Public Complaints Commission. The protest, which began over the rising cost of living, with reported cases of violence and breakdown of law and order in parts of the state, resulted in numerous arrests, with many families now calling for the release of their children and loved ones.
We have been submitted our petition to him because those our children were took them to Abuja. They are in bad situation. They are in trouble situation. Majority of them are under 18 years.
Fatima Yusuf is one of the many worried mothers here. She says her two sons, aged 13 and 16, are among those taken away.
Gwamnati da ta taimaka ta saka mana da yaranmu, ta saka mana yaranmu su dawo gare mu. Mu ma mu san a halin da yaran nan suke ciki, ba mu san a halin da suke ciki.
We are pleading with those in authority to free our children because we cannot even tell the situation they are in right now. I was pregnant when they were arrested, and I've since given birth to this child I'm carrying. They don't even know what he looks like. The Commissioner of the Public Complaints Commission in Kano, Abdullahi Atta, acknowledges the gravity of the situation. He reveals that a staggering 75% of the detained children from Kano are under the age of 18.
So today, as you are seeing, we are receiving a complaint from hundreds of people. These are parents of the children that were arrested during the protest that took place about 2-3 months ago in Nigeria. These children, most of them, 75% of them from our investigation, are below the age of 18. Some are even 13, 15, 16 years. So they come to complain about the arrest of the children, and they were taken to Abuja. From the information we are receiving is most of the states have gone to Abuja and they have processed for the bail or something about the release of their children. But the people been arrested in Kano State, as you saw the complainants, we are not being released. So we received this complaint and we are going to process it to our headquarters at Abuja. And inshallah, we are hoping the federal government will look into it and release the children of Kano State also.
As the families continue their wait, the situation remains tense. Many are hoping that their cries for the release of their loved ones will soon be heard. Abdulaziz Ibrahim, Trust TV News.
And to developments away from Nigeria, Tunisian President Kais Saied has been sworn in for a second term, following a months-long crackdown and a series of arrests against his political opponents. A few weeks after being re-elected with 90.7% of the vote, the 66-year-old former law professor called in his investiture speech for a cultural revolution to fight unemployment, terrorism and corruption. Said's re-election on October 7 came after a turbulent first term in office, in which he suspended the country's parliament, rewrote its post-Arab Spring constitution, and jailed dozens of his critics in politics, the media, business and civil society. He justified some crackdowns as necessary to combat corruption and enemies of the state, using populism to appeal to Tunisians disillusioned with the direction his predecessors took the country after nationwide protests that led to the ouster of Zine El Abidine bin Ali in 2011. Said has proclaimed his commitment to respecting freedoms. Many journalists were prevented from covering his swearing-in ceremony to a rebuke from the National Union of Tunisian Journalists. Still on the foreign scene, Taiwan has turned down South Africa's request to relocate its representative office from Pretoria, the capital, to Johannesburg, the commercial hub. Taiwan's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Jeff Liu stated during a news conference that the request to relocate or close the office breached a 1997 agreement between the two nations. This decision reflects Taiwan's ongoing efforts to resist China's attempts to diplomatically isolate the self-governing island. Liu reiterated Foreign Minister Lin Chia-lung's statement at the legislature on Monday that Taiwan is ready for any situation regarding the demand. Both Lin and Liu emphasized that the office is Taiwanese property and Taipei has the authority to decide its location and status. And finally, in sports, the Confederation of African Football President Patrice Motsepe says a proper investigation into the recent controversy surrounding Nigeria's AFCON qualifier against Libya is ongoing. The president also emphasized that the Confederation will not tolerate any lack of sportsmanship in African football. Motsepe, during a press conference on Tuesday after the 46th Ordinary General Assembly in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, spoke in response to the difficult conditions the Nigerian national team faced during their trip to Libya, which raised concerns about players' safety and fair treatment. Recall that Nigeria traveled to Libya for their crucial AFCON qualifier, where they encountered several challenges, including redirection of their flight, over 18-hour delay at the airport, and logistical complications that affected the team's preparation. Some players, including team captain Truce Ekong and Victor Osimhen, expressed dismay over the situation, with Super Eagles defender Kenneth Omeruo calling the decision to play in Libya terrible due to the ongoing instability in the country. And with that, we've come to the end of the news update on Trust TV at this hour. Remember, you can always follow us across all of our social media platforms and also join our YouTube live stream for more news, programs, and documentary. I am Aisha Salihu. Thank you so much for watching. Join us again.